The train was late. Again. Caleb Rourke stood alone at the edge of the platform, boots planted in frozen wood, coat too thin for a Dakota winter. He didn't complain, didn't shift. Waiting was something he'd gotten used to. Waiting for rain. Waiting for crops. Waiting for something in his life to finally change. This was supposed to be that change. A wife. Not for love, not for comfort, for survival. The agency back east had promised him strong stock, a woman who understands hard land. German, broad-shouldered, used to work, someone who wouldn't break out here. Caleb didn't need anything else, didn't expect anything else. The sound cut through the cold like a blade, steam rising over the horizon. The train arrived like something alive, breathing, groaning, dragging heat into a frozen world. It slowed, stopped. Doors opened. A few people stepped down. A salesman, a family, a man who looked like he didn't belong anywhere. Caleb watched, waiting. No German woman. Then movement. At the far end of the car, a figure stepped into the doorway. Small, still. For a second he thought it was a child. Then she stepped forward. A girl, too thin, too light, dressed in worn red fabric that didn't belong in this land. Her hair black, her skin pale from cold. Her eyes dark, sharp, searching. She wasn't German. She wasn't even close. Caleb's jaw tightened. No, this wasn't his. An official moved behind her, checking a tag, then pointing at him. The girl followed the gesture, looked at him, and something in that look locked. Not confusion, not relief, recognition, like she had already decided he was the one. Caleb didn't move, didn't step forward. He should have turned, walked away, demanded answers, demanded his money back. Instead, he stood there. Because she started walking toward him. Careful, measured, each step uncertain, but not weak. She stopped a foot away, shivering, but silent. She didn't speak, didn't bow, didn't beg. Just looked at him, waiting. Caleb saw it then. The cold had already taken hold, her hands trembling, her arms bare beneath worn cloth. She wouldn't last the night. Not out here. Not like this. Something shifted inside him. Not kindness, not even pity. Instinct. He pulled the blanket from his own shoulders. Worn, warm. The only thing between him and the cold. Then, without a word, he draped it over her. She flinched, then froze, like she didn't understand what had just happened. Her fingers slowly rose, gripping the wool, pulling it close, holding it like it mattered. Her eyes lifted again, meeting his. Different now, not searching, seeing. That moment passed without a word. Paperwork was quick, too quick, The official didn't explain, didn't apologize, just handed over documents like it was already decided. Caleb unfolded them, eyes scanning, then stopping. His name, printed, clear. Beside it, a signature. Not his. Below, hers. Mei Lien. Marriage certificate. Filed. Legal. Done. Caleb stared at it, a cold anger rising. Not loud, not explosive. Heavy. He hadn't just been cheated. He'd been bound to a stranger. He crumpled the paper in his fist, then looked at her. She was watching him, not afraid, not surprised, like she had expected this moment, and was waiting to see what kind of man he would be. Caleb exhaled once, turned. Come on. No warmth, no explanation, just direction. The wind hit them again, hard. She pulled the blanket tighter around herself, following. Not because she trusted him, because she had nowhere else to go, and he knew it. He had come to claim a wife. Instead, he walked away from that station with a stranger, wrapped in his only blanket, and a mistake that would soon burn everything he owned to the ground. The first days passed in silence. Not peaceful, not comfortable, just necessary. The cabin was small, one room, one fire, too little space for two strangers tied together by paper. Caleb Rourke kept to his routine. Work, eat, sleep. The only things he trusted. But now everything felt watched. Not by her, by what she had brought with her. Mei Lin moved quietly, almost invisible, but never careless. She learned the space quickly, the fire, the tools, the rhythm of his life. By the second morning, the cabin had changed, not in size, in feeling. His cup cleaned before he reached for it. His coat mended where the seams had torn. Food better than anything he had cooked alone in months. Caleb noticed. Of course he did. He just didn't say anything, because acknowledging it meant acknowledging her. He found her outside near the well, breaking ice with careful strikes. Too careful. Hands too small for the work. He watched her for a moment, then, without a word, left a heavier tool beside her. She looked at it, then at him. A small nod. That was enough. That was how they spoke, not with words, with actions. That night the wind died down, the first quiet evening since she arrived. Caleb sat at the table, cleaning his rifle, the sound steady, grounding. She stood near the hearth, watching. Then she spoke. You lied for me. Her English clear, careful. Caleb froze, just for a second, then set the rifle down. You understood them. Not a question. She nodded. I understand more than I say. That shifted something, because now the silence wasn't protection. It had been choice. Why? he asked. She hesitated, because this was the point of no return. My father, her voice steadied. He worked for the Western Rail Syndicate. Caleb's jaw tightened slightly. He knew that name. Men with power. Men who didn't answer to anyone. He was an engineer, she continued. He saw what they were building. Cheap steel. Weak supports. They knew it would fail. Caleb didn't interrupt, didn't move. He already knew where this was going. He warned them. A pause. They ignored him. They silenced him. Her hands tightened slightly, not shaking, controlled. A train fell, she said. Dozens died. They called it an accident. The words hung heavy in the room, but she wasn't finished. He kept records. Everything. Orders, materials, warnings, proof. Caleb leaned back slightly. There it was. The reason. "Where is it?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she stepped closer, reached inside her bundle, and pulled it out. A small ledger, worn, handled, important, too important. She held it between them. This is why they came. Caleb looked at it. Didn't take it yet, because once he did, there was no stepping away. "They'll kill you for that," he said. She met his gaze. "They already tried." That was true, but not the whole truth. They'll kill anyone who stands with you. That was the part that mattered. Caleb finally took the ledger, felt its weight. Not just paper. Consequences. "They'll come here," he said. She nodded. Yes. They will burn this place. The words didn't shake, didn't hesitate. They landed like fact. Caleb looked around the cabin, the table, the fire, the walls he built with his own hands, everything he had. Then he closed the ledger and set it down. "You should leave," he said. That was the out, the last chance. She didn't move, didn't step back, didn't look away. "Will you?" she asked. That hit harder than anything else, because it wasn't accusation. It was truth. Caleb didn't answer. He didn't need to. They both knew. Outside, the wind shifted, carrying something new. Not cold. Movement. Caleb's eyes lifted toward the door, then back to her. "They won't wait long." She nodded once. "Neither will we." That word, "we," settled between them, different now, no longer strangers. Something else. And somewhere beyond the open land, beyond the quiet, men were already riding. Toward the cabin, toward the ledger, toward the mistake that had just become his fight. They came in daylight, not hiding, not rushing, like men who had nothing to fear. Caleb saw them from the fence line. 3 riders, cresting the ridge to the east. Too straight, too certain. Not travelers. Company men. He didn't need to see the brand. Didn't need to see the guns. He knew. "They're here," he said. Inside the cabin, Mei Lien froze, just for a second. Then moved. Not panic. Preparation. Caleb picked up his rifle, checked it once, then stepped forward, meeting them before they reached the door. The riders slowed as they approached, spreading slightly, not enough to attack, enough to surround. The man in front didn't rush, didn't speak at first. He just looked, studying everything. The cabin, the land, Caleb. Victor Hale. A face built for intimidation, scar along his jaw, eyes that didn't waste time on emotion. He spat to the side. "You're Rourke." Not a question. Caleb didn't nod, didn't confirm. "Depends who's asking." That earned a faint shift, not quite a smile, but close. "Name doesn't matter," Hale said. "What matters is what you're hiding." The wind picked up slightly, carrying dust across the ground. Caleb stood still. No reaction. "Ain't hiding anything." Hale's gaze shifted, past him, toward the cabin, the single line of smoke rising from the chimney, the extra set of tracks in the snow. "You expecting company?" he asked. Caleb didn't turn, didn't look back. "Just me." That was the moment, the lie, clear, deliberate. The men behind Hale shifted slightly, hands brushing near holsters, testing the space, testing him. Hale looked back at Caleb, longer this time, because now he understood something. This wasn't ignorance, it was refusal. "A Chinese girl came through town," he said. "Trained from the West." Caleb didn't blink. "Haven't seen her." The words sat heavy in the air. No hesitation, no crack. Hale's jaw shifted slightly. Then he leaned forward in the saddle, just a little. "She stole from the syndicate." A pause. "Something important." Caleb didn't respond, because he already knew. "And there's a reward," Hale added. "More than a man like you sees in a year." That was the offer, the easy way out. Turn her in, take the money, and... Caleb shifted his grip on the rifle, then spoke. "Doesn't concern me." That was it. The line drawn. Hale stared at him, long enough for the air to change. Because men like him weren't used to hearing no. The riders spread slightly wider, blocking angles, not attacking. Not yet. Hale exhaled slowly, then nodded once. "We'll be back." A pause. People who hide syndicate property tend to lose things. His eyes flicked toward the cabin. Like homes. The threat didn't need more than that. It was already understood. Caleb didn't react, didn't answer, because he already knew. They would burn it. Hale pulled the reins, turning his horse. The others followed, riding back toward the ridge. Not leaving, just giving time. The land went quiet again, But it wasn't the same silence. This one was waiting. Caleb stepped through the door, closed it behind him. Mei Lian stood near the hearth, watching him. "You lied," she said quietly. Not accusation, recognition. He set the rifle down. "They weren't asking." She studied him, different now, because he had chosen not to walk away. "They will come back," she said. Caleb nodded once. "I know." The fire crackled behind them, the only sound left. "For me," she added, "that mattered." He looked at her, really looked. "They're shooting at my house." Simple, but it said everything. Something shifted between them. Not obligation, not accident. Choice. Outside, the wind picked up again, carrying the faint echo of hooves, not leaving, circling, setting the ground. And for the first time, the cabin wasn't just a place to live. It was a place that would be tested by fire, by men, by a decision he had already made. They didn't wait long. Men like that never did. They just chose the moment. And just before dawn, they came back. The coldest hour, the quietest, the hour when men were weakest. Caleb Rourke was already awake, sitting at the table, rifle in his hands. He had known. He just didn't know when. Then the first shot came. Wood exploded beside the window. Mei Lian moved instantly, no hesitation. She killed the lantern, plunging the room into shadow. 4, she said. Maybe more. That was enough. Caleb moved to the wall, positioned. Another shot. Glass shattered inward. He fired back, the sound deafening in the small cabin. Not to kill, to warn. But they didn't scare easy. The attack began. Shots hammered the walls, boots shifting outside, voices calling. The cabin, his home, became a box of noise and smoke. A trap. For the next minutes, they moved together, without needing to speak. He fired. She reloaded. He shifted. She called. To the right, near the woodpile. A figure outside scrambled back. They were holding for now. A bullet tore through the wall near her head. Splinters cut across her cheek. She didn't flinch, didn't stop, because stopping meant dying. Then a new sound, heavy. Again, Caleb's expression shifted. They're hitting the door. A battering ram trying to break through. At the same time, gunfire shifted, a diversion. Caleb turned just for a second and saw it. A man running fast, torch in hand, heading for the roof. Fire! But he was too late. Flame caught. The roof ignited. Smoke began to pour down, thick, black. The air turned heavy, hard to breathe. Inside, everything changed. The door splintered, a gap just wide enough, a gun shoved through. Caleb was exposed, no cover, no time. He saw the muzzle, the flash, too close. Then impact. Mei Lian slammed into him, throwing him off balance. The bullet tore through the space he had been standing. Caleb hit the floor hard. Air knocked from his chest. For a second, he couldn't hear anything, just ringing. And her voice. Pain. He turned. She was against the wall, her hand pressed to her arm. Blood. Dark. Spreading. You're hit! She shook her head slightly. Not deep, but her face pale, holding it together. Caleb moved to her, hands checking the wound. Anger, fear, something deeper rising in his chest. Why would you? The words broke, because he already knew. She looked at him, eyes steady. You are my husband. Simple, certain, like nothing else needed to be said. That hit harder than the gunfire. The roof groaned, fire spreading faster now, heat building. They couldn't hold. Smoke filled the room, thick, blinding. Caleb grabbed the ledger, stuffed it inside his coat. Nothing else mattered. The cellar, their only chance. He kicked the table over, sending embers across the floor. More smoke, he rasped. For cover! The room vanished into haze. He grabbed her good hand. Stay with me. She nodded once. That was enough. He drove his boot into the rear wall. Again, a gap opened, just enough. Go! He pushed her through, into the freezing dark. The cabin burned behind them, men shouting, confused, blinded by smoke. They ran toward the cellar. A shadow broke free from the firelight. Caleb staggered. A bullet tore through his side. But he didn't stop. He pushed forward, dragging her with him. One step, then another, until the cellar door. He wrenched it open, shoved her inside, then fell in after, slamming it shut. Darkness, total, just their breaths, ragged, alive. Above them, the fire consumed everything. Voices shouting, then fading, until nothing remained. The house burned. The land went silent. And beneath it, in the dark, two people lay alive, because one had chosen to stand, and the other had chosen not to let him fall. The fire took everything, slowly, completely, and then it left, not out of mercy, because there was nothing left to burn. The cellar was silent, dark, heavy. The world above reduced to memory and ash. Caleb Rourke lay on the cold dirt floor, every breath sharp. The wound in his side hot, deep, but not fatal. Across from him, Mei Lian, still, wrapped in the same gray blanket, the one he had given her. For a long time, neither of them spoke, because words weren't needed. They were alive. That was enough. A small flare broke the darkness. Caleb's hands shook slightly, lighting the lantern. The cellar came into view. Low ceiling, rough earth walls, and her. Soot streaked across her face, hair loose, eyes dark but steady. He pushed himself up slowly, pain pulling through his side, but he didn't stop. He moved toward her. Let me see your arm. She hesitated, just a second, then nodded. He unwrapped the cloth, careful. The wound was clean, ugly, but survivable. He poured water over it. His hands, rough from years of work, moved gently, precise, like he could undo what had happened. She watched him, not questioning, not afraid, because something had changed. Out there in the fire, in the moment she stepped between him and that bullet, they had stopped being strangers. "You didn't have to do that," he said. Not accusation, something else. She met his gaze. "You would have died." That was all. Simple. True. He didn't answer because there was nothing to argue. When he finished, he leaned back, the effort catching up to him. For a moment, he closed his eyes. Then felt it. The blanket. She had shifted closer, pulling it over both of them. Not asking, just doing. Her shoulder touched his. Light. Careful. He didn't move away, didn't speak, just let it happen. Above them, the fire faded, the last beam collapsing. Then, nothing. Dawn came slowly, gray, cold. Caleb pushed the cellar door open. The world outside, gone. The cabin, ash. The barn, charred skeleton. Everything he had built, erased. He stood there, leaning slightly, not angry, not broken, just aware. Mei Lian stepped beside him, her hand lightly gripping his arm. Support. And something more. "It is gone," she said. There was guilt in it. He heard it. He turned his head, looked at her, not at the ruins, at her. "It was wood," he said, not dismissing it, choosing what mattered. She looked up at him, searching for blame. He didn't give it. Instead, he shifted his weight, standing straighter. "I can build again," he said. Then, after a moment, "We can." That word hung between them. We. Not forced, not accidental. Chosen. She didn't speak right away, but her grip tightened slightly, holding on. The wind moved across the land, carrying away the last smoke, leaving only open sky and possibility. He reached up, his fingers brushing soot from her cheek. The first time he had touched her was to give warmth. Now it meant something else. He leaned in, slow, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met. Not rushed, not desperate. Quiet. A promise. When they pulled back, nothing needed to be said, because everything already had. Behind them, ash. Ahead, nothing built yet. Only ground and choice. A week later, snow covered the ruins, turning black to white, hiding what had been lost, but not what had been made. The cellar stood stronger now, reinforced. A beginning, not an end. Inside, she worked beside him, straightening bent nails, saving what could be saved. He watched her, not as a stranger, not as a burden, as something else. "You're not a stranger," he said quietly. She looked up, met his eyes. "No, not anymore." And in a land where everything could be taken, burned, or buried, they had found something that couldn't. Not in the fire, not in the cold. Something they chose to build together.